Hi and welcome to Home Assistant How-To with BeardedTinker. Today we're going to play with this NC400 Annke night color camera. We'll start in 10 seconds. As always, before we go any further, I really would like to thank all the members who have joined my channel. Your support really means a lot. Thank you. And I also would like to thank everybody who has subscribed and hit the like on any of my videos. Thank you. Some 10 days ago, I was approached by Annke and asked if I want to do a video on their camera. And I did look at the spec and I said, well, why not? Sure. I do like cameras, I do like to play with them, and although I am really pleased with the cameras I have, to have a camera that works perfectly in the night and that would allow me to do object or person recognition during the night would be really awesome. So that's the reason I'm doing this review. And how is the camera working? I really do not know. I had so much stuff going on both privately and at work that I didn't manage to do anything before recording this video. So whatever you see here will be also the first one for me. Yeah, I did read the documentation, I did browse through the web, I also searched the forums to see what comments people have, and although some are pretty satisfied, others have negative reviews. Well, let's check what will my opinion of this camera be and the integration inside Home Assistant. First things first, if we compare it to the previous cameras I did review of, these ones do not have, at least for now, any kind of special custom integration that would allow you to integrate them inside Home Assistant. No, you would need to use either ONVIF or RTSP stream. So, without further ado, let's try and add this camera to the system. And this one requires you to download a file, executable file from their website, so you can initiate the camera or start it going. Let's download it. We should go to Support, Download Center, Software, and this should be the one, SADP Tool for Windows. Let's download it. Download has finished, so let's start it. After you start the file, you should be greeted with the installation screen. Press Next, English, default path, and install. Next, and let's run the application. Let's enable it, allow access. We will not be enabling it for now. So, as you can see here, we have one camera that has been found. And the first thing you have to do with this tool is to activate the camera. And for that, you need to use either lowercase or uppercase or numbers. And I did read that there is a quirk or a problem with the software that, for example, you cannot use more than two types of the symbols. So either you can use, for example, numbers and lowercase letters, or you can use lowercase letters and uppercase letters. So let me try and think of something. And the camera is now activated. Okay. Security questions. I'll press cancel for now. And this is the network parameters for the camera. Enable DHCP, enable HIK connection, serial number, IP address, port, subnet mask gateway, IPv6, which I do not use, and HTTP port. If you want to change the static IP address, you just disable this flag here and change the IP address. I usually keep my cameras in the range of 90, and everything else should be okay. Let me type here the password. The next step is to connect to the camera by using the web interface. Let me try that. We need to search on the IP address 91. On the web page, just type in the admin and the password you previously specified. Hopefully I typed this correctly. And unfortunately, you are not here able to see the image from the stream. Local allows you to specify the live view parameters, TCP, UDP, multicast or HTTP. Play performance, short is delay, balance, fluent and custom. Balance is more or less always the best way to go. Rules, whatever they are. Display POS information, which is good. For example, You can tie this camera then with the point of sale system, and if you are using RS-232 connection, I presume you can get the information about the receipt or the credit card use or things like that. So if there is any kind of a fraud or something like that, you can have tied in transaction with the video footage from the surveillance station or surveillance system. Record file size, where it's kept, and things like that. System, I've given the name of the camera NC400. Time settings, you can here select the time zone, NTP. You can also test it here. If it's working, it's working. DST, if you are in the DST part of the world, you can enable it. For me, this will be the first Sunday of the April, so in a week, I think, yes. No, 2 weeks from now. RS-232, as I said, is a connection to the whatever uses RS-232 protocol, and about gives you a license for the open source software. Maintenance, unfortunately, even this camera, as some other Chinese cameras I have, doesn't have ability to pull the image from the website. You do have to download the image manually, select it here, and then press upgrade to enable the upgrade of the system. What I like about the Western cameras or cameras from the Western companies is that they have a root central server. It can be either US based or EU based or Asia based. And then it automatically warns you if there is an update for your camera and downloads it, which is also a great thing because when cameras do receive upgrade, it is usually something security related, and you do want to have your security system up to the date with all the patches. Auto maintenance, I presume that this is restart of the camera, and I usually do have this enabled. So let me enable it. Yes, as it says. Continue. And we'll leave it as is, and well, give it 1:30 in the morning. Okay. Security audit log will give information about the security events. Security events can be various things, ranging from the successful login, a failed login, things like that. Security, authentication, we'll leave this everything as is. IP filter is something that I do not see in the cameras, which is really a great option for you to have. This is the ability to blacklist or whitelist the specific IP addresses or ranges. In this case, I think that you can only specify the IP address. Yes, not a range, but that's no problem. What I would do in this case is I would select all the systems that I want to be able to access the camera. So for example, this can be my home assistant, my Synology machine, my mobile phone, one of my laptops, and my desktop computer. And what I would do here is enable IP address filter, select here allowed, and then type here all the IP addresses of all devices that I want to enable access to the camera. If anybody else tries to access it, it will fail, which is a great thing. Security service, enable illegal login lock, is something I believe similar to IP ban, which means that if there are too many login attempts with the failed password, it would block that IP address, I presume. User management allows you to create additional users. So you have 3 account types. One is administrator, the other one is operator, and the third one is a user. Administrator is of course the highest level, and when you should only have one administrative account in any system. Operator is a level below, and you can here select what are the options or what things the operator can do. And the user is the lowest level. Some systems also call it a viewer. It only allows, for example, to view live events or maybe even trigger manual record. But this is all up to you, and you can configure it to your specification and specific needs. Online users gives you the list of all the IP addresses that are currently accessing the system. So I'm currently accessing this from my PC, the one I'm recording from, but also from my laptop, because in the meantime, when I configured the IP address, I also popped out and configured the camera to have a better view from that camera. Let's go to network settings. Here you can configure the network settings, which is more or less everything we've seen before. You can select what speed the camera is using, is it DHCP, the IP addresses of the system, gateway, DNS servers. In the DNS, you can of course configure anything related to dynamic DNS, but I'm not using that. In port, you will see a list of all the ports the system is using. So we are using port 80, 554, 443, which are our regular ports, and the server port is 8000, which I believe is a ONVIF port. Maybe. I'm not sure. NAT. This is a nice thing to have. I'm not using, I will never use it, but it's a nice thing to have. It enables you to enable UPnP, and by doing this, you can configure automatic port forwarding on your router, if of course your router does support that. You can select here if you will be using HTTP, RTSP, or port 8000. Leave them here if you need, and it would automatically create a rule on your router to route the traffic incoming from the internet to specific port directly to this camera, which is something that I will not do and I would not recommend, but it's also a great thing to have. In advanced settings, you can configure FTP if you use it, email if you use it, platform access, which is, I presume, access to their system, a cloud system, which I'm not using and I will not be using, but it's great to have option to use cloud storage. And one thing that I like that some other systems, I don't know why do not have, is possibility to use HTTPS. That means that camera can be accessed by using the HTTPS protocol, which is always a great thing. QoS, or quality of service. This one I will definitely not be using, and funny thing is that ONVIF has to be enabled, so we will enable it, and you also need to create additional user that will be used to access the camera via ONVIF. So let me add it here. Username will be NC400-O. Password will be very secure password. And I will give this user administrative rights. So I will click here. Okay, save. We will be using this to integrate inside Home Assistant, but also I will be using this to integrate inside Synology Surveillance Station. Video and audio. You can leave more or less everything here as is. Unfortunately, the maximum frame rate for the camera is 20, which is not that bad really, especially for the surveillance stations, but I do prefer to have a little bit higher frame rates when there is event. So what I usually configure in my other systems on other cameras is a lower frame rate, for example 12 or 15 when there is no event, and then I increase the frame rate to 30 when there is event or motion on the camera. And as I said, the maximum frame rate for this camera is 20 frames per second. And the default value for the video encoding is 265, but I will lower it to H.264 because of the surveillance station. Here once again you cannot see picture, unfortunately. Let's go to image. This one allows you to enable privacy mask. For example, I can hide out this part of the picture. On-screen display allows you to select where parts of the image will have text on them. Let me move this here and this here. Let's save this. So here I will have the name of the camera and here I will have time and the date. You can also add additional text. NC400 night color camera. And move this in the middle of the image. Okay, but yeah, I will not be having that here. The customization here for the OSD is really great. And display settings, it allows you to tweak some settings on the camera. Image adjustment, so brightness, contrast, exposure settings, what is the exposure time, is it iris, is it manual or manual? Unfortunately, there's nothing else but manual. Day-night switch, automatic, sensitivity 4, filtering time 5, smart supplement light is off, and supplement light mode is off. The camera itself on the bottom of the camera has a white, very bright LED, but I do not like it because it flashes directly in your eye during the night. So I've disabled it, and I really do hope that this will not impact the night vision of the camera. Backlight settings, I'll leave everything as is. White balance, also I will be leaving everything as is. Image enhancement, normal, and video adjustment is as is. Let's go to event. The motion detection or event page allows you to customize motion detection, video tampering, and exceptions. So by default, everything is selected. Let me clear this, and I will just draw area here. So only this part of the image will be processed for the motion. Okay, I selected normal, but you can select expert mode and then schedule parts of the motion, select for which area you want to configure, what type of sensitivity and things like that. But as I said, I'll be using more normal. Okay, let me redo this and save. Arming schedule allows you to select times of the day and times of the week where you want to have motion detected and when you want to ignore everything going on in the image, which is something that can be useful, for example, in a busy city center or in the store. So for example, you do not want to record during the working hours, but you want camera to detect any motion outside of the working hours. So things like that. Storage allows you to select parts of the day or parts of the week where you want to have continuous recording or when you want to have something else. Capture parameters allows you to select what type of the image or video will be recorded in terms of the quality of the image, quality of the stream, and things like that. So yeah, that's it. And this is it for this quick tour and configuration of the camera. Now this part is over, let me go to Synology and I will try to add this camera inside my Synology surveillance station. So let's go there. In Synology, let's open up surveillance station and let's add this camera. Let me close this. IP camera, add, complete setup. And this is our camera. Username NC400-0, and the password for that was this one. Let's test. It looks okay, and let's load capability. So the camera is now added. Let's press next. Video format for the camera, as I said, is H.264. For the stream profile, I will select high quality as stream 1 and balanced will be stream 2, low bandwidth stream 2. So stream 1 will be this one, frames per second will be this, and stream 2 will leave as is. Pre-recording time, so we'll be recording 5 seconds before the event and 5 seconds after the event. Keeping the files nothing, we will be leaving the archive, limiting the archive folder to 5 gigs as my space here on the Synology is limited. And this is the custom archive folder, which I will not be touching. Here I will select motion detection and change everything to motion detection because I do not want to have continuous recording on this camera. Press next. And here is now the information for the camera. Let's press finish. And the camera itself. Let's press on the play. And here, for the first time, unfortunately, you can see this camera playing here. As you can see here, the quality of the image is really good for the 4 megapixel camera, but this is the day recording. And let me quickly add the other camera here so we can compare the quality of the images. This one has just now switched to the night mode. As you can see, the image has now turned black and white. Information about the stream, you can see the codec is H.264, frames per second 15, bit rate is 940 kilobits per second, and this is the video resolution. And let me pop up my pretty head in front of the camera. And this, what you can see here, is the image from the other camera, which really shows everything great. It looks still as a day and not a dusk. And let me pop up my pretty face once again there. And this is how it looks while it's still dusk outside. Let me switch to Home Assistant and add those cameras inside Home Assistant. Inside Home Assistant, let's go to Configuration, Integrations, and press here on Add Integration. We'll type ONVIF, Submit, and let's see if the system can find the camera. It has found it, so let's click on Submit. NC400-0. And we are in, hopefully. Let's select the area. And finish. So we have now added to Home Assistant this NC400 camera. We have one device with 11 entities. Entities are mainstream. This is the stream with the highest resolution possible. Last reboot, the time when the camera was last rebooted. If there is any kind of a motion detection or temper detection. Processor usage, storage failure, which we are not using. Then we have ability to add the substream, last reset, last clock synchronization, video source token image if it's too dark, and the motion alarm. Let's go back to integrations, click here on one device, this here, and we can see everything here. The easiest way for us is now to add it to Lovelace, and I already have cameras here, so I will be adding this to Lovelace UI. Let's go to Overview, Cameras, and we can see here the main stream from the camera, and we see also here the idle state because motion is not detected. We have now added NC400 camera inside Home Assistant, which was really easy. The other option you have is to use RTSP stream, but since I previously covered multiple times RTSP, I will not be covering. And on the other hand, when you are using RTSP stream, you are really not using the maximum benefits of the camera. So I would definitely suggest that you go with the ONVIF integration. You probably couldn't guess it from the image down below, but it's pitch dark outside. First, we will see how this image compares with the other camera I have here. There is a bit of light outside. These are the LEDs, and these are really the small LEDs here and here. These are the IKEA solar-powered LEDs. So let me go outside. I'll wave and pass in front of the camera, and we'll see how my face looks on this camera. Then I repeat the same process, but with the other camera. As you can see here, it's really pitch dark outside. The LEDs that were really bright on the NC400 camera here are very dim. So let me go outside and walk in front of this camera. You've seen both cameras. One camera has really nice color view. The other one has a black and white view. In black and white image I look like some kind of vampire. But in a color view I look like a ghost. What's the reason for that? This is something that goes on the plus side, but also goes on the minus side. Plus side, it allows you to have very long exposure, and this longer exposure allows you to send more light to the sensor, and this gives the color image. On the other side, if there is a movement inside a frame, during this frame capture, the image itself would be blurry or washed out. So what are my final thoughts on this camera? Well, to be honest, I am really impressed on how it can enable or enhance the quantity of light to the image processor or image sensor and give such a colorful night image. Yes, the motion in front of that lens during the night can be ghosty, but still I really am impressed. The images I've shown you are from some 30 or 40 feet away, down in the garden, and still you have pretty nice color night shots. So I really am impressed. What I do not like is that, yes, this comes at the price of motion. If you have motion in front of the image sensor, it can be blurry or ghostly, so that's the negative side. Are there ways to improve it? Of course. One of the things that you can play with is exposure time. The other, image enhancement, you can probably lower the settings and see how this improves or if it has a negative effect on the image quality of the person in front of the camera. During the day, image of the camera is also really solid, but as Annke is emphasizing, this really is a night chrome or night color camera. So for that you can get it. Unfortunately, I do doubt that I can use this stream for person detection. Yes, for object detection, it would definitely recognize that there is a person as an individual walking or car approaching, but I don't think the system would be able to recognize face from that image. Nevertheless, I will definitely install this camera in place of my old and now non-working camera that I used for panoramic view. And I really do expect it to shine there, even during the night. I must stress out once again that I did disable the front white LED light, which can help you definitely improve the quality of the image in front of the camera, especially during the night. But as I said previously in the video, I do not want to have any bright light shining from the camera. And one other thing I must emphasize, I really do like the ability to customize the blacklist or whitelist or allow unblock list of IP addresses. This is something that not a lot of cameras have, and I do like it as a feature, especially if we are talking about the security system. So kudos for that. And this is it for this Home Assistant how-to with BeardedTinker. I really do hope that you liked this video and that you did find something here useful. If you have any kind of a comment or a question in regard to this video or this camera or any previous video I made, you can always find me on the Discord server, but also feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell button so that you get notified on future videos, and I will be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.